All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, YAHAWAH. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that taught us his truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with the 144,000. Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah, BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The Rakakwa Dasha the Holy Spirit. I'm the brother I will want me with the gym at Chicago, camp out here in Chicago. Come back at you brothers and sisters of the household of faith of the hopeful right select with another lesson. And Lord, and I hope this lesson be edifying through the spirit and power. YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI. Once again, I hope this lesson is edifying. I'm just simply titled this lesson. All the puzzle pieces are falling into place, man. Regarding prophecy, because we know, I had mentioned, in my my last lesson, talking about the integration between the American and Israel military. How ultimately, a kingdom only lasts is what's that approximately 250 years, man. Starting with the elders and apostles on down that have been, that have been preaching that, man. And ultimately with the merger between Israel and America, between their militaries, it's only going to fast track, the other prophecies, which is what? The MOTB, which is the RFID chip, and further escalate World War III. Because you got to understand, right? Everybody despises that state over there in Israel, man. Even America's on that last. And with the integration between the both militaries, and you're gonna have America's on that last, separate themselves more and more from America, man. It's the prophecy that you read about. What's that? Revelation, the 17th chapter, I believe. It talks about the beast shall hate the whore. Ultimately what? Martial law. You have a lot of these American citizens, especially those Proud Boys, that's ultimately up in arms about this, man. Because what did Donald Trump ultimately preach, his first time and really going into his second term? What was his rhetoric? Make America great again, man. Put America first. But all these different politicians has been paid off, and ultimately what? The bill has been passed, through the House. It has to be passed through the Senate. But ultimately, they're putting Israel above everything right now, man. Which is going to cause a ripple effect, man. But I just want to start out right here. This is the book of Matthew, 24 and verse 1. And Yahawashi went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to shew him the buildings of the temple. And Yahawashi said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be one left here, one stone upon another, that shall not be thrown down. And he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privily, saying, tell us when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world, right? And when it talks about the end of the world, it's talking about an end of an age, going into an age, ultimately what? The end of this man's kingdom, man. And ultimately we're approaching this man's kingdom, and we're in the final few seconds of Esau's kingdom, because this place is really running on fumes, man. As the scripture says, it was that 2 Ezra 6, for Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of that followeth, man. Because really there's only a handful of prophecies left before the destruction of this place, man. And the main one being that MOTB. It says, I'm going to jump down a little bit, verse 6. I'm gonna just read it through. Verse 4 says, and how shall I send answer and send unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, meaning what? I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And right, the end cannot come and until that ultimately that MOTB, that RFID should be made mandatory, man. With these technocrats taking over the government and things like that, a lot of these things are being fast tracked by YAHAWASHI, because the scripture says, hey, the Lord is shortening the days for the elect's sake, man. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places, which we're seeing a lot of, man. It's an earthquake, multiple earthquakes, in one day, man, that's being reported. All these are the beginning of sorrow, so we really haven't seen anything yet, man. With these said things happening, man, only things are going to get, it's going to escalate, and things are going to get, worse here in this society, man. The people is up in arms of what what has been passed, man. It has been passed, yeah, but it's going to happen, man. You have the small state of Israel over there basically has their hand all in America, man. Let's jump down. Verse 14, it says, then this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And ultimately what? Through us preaching this word, hey, we're casting down this man's kingdom, man. And that ultimately began by the preaching of this word, man. This word has been what, taught throughout the four corners of the world by the way of the internet. I believe that's Psalms 19. And ultimately everybody, pretty much, knows about, what's about this word, man, or what's going on, man. And that ultimately began with the with the preaching of this word, man. Jump down to verse 21. It says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days shall be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." Or as I was mentioning, man, hey, the Lord is shortening the days, man, for the elect's sake, man. Because, hey, best believe, martial law is going to be declared throughout the streets, man. Because it's going to be a major uproar in America, man. We're very well could be weeks and months away from that, man. You have a lot of people is, struggling, to survive here, but ultimately they're giving billions to the state of Israel, man. So it's going to cause seditions. It's going to cause civil war. It's going to cause, everybody, rising up against their government, man. These disgruntled Americans, especially the so-called, white race that's ultimately prided themselves, in America, man. They're going to ultimately what? They're going to bear arms, man. But let's actually grab this. This is the book of 2 Esdras 15. And in verse 14, it says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein," right? And woe means the destruction, man. "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands," right? Talking about what? Those civil wars, those class wars, man. Because it's going to come to a point, which we're at right now. A lot of these people are going to be, basically, irritated of what's going on, basically angry of what's going on, because, hey, this is the, the tip of the iceberg, man, with this whole, merger between the Israel and the American militaries, man. Like I got to go back and say, what did Donald Trump always preach, man? Hey, make America great again, America first. And a lot of these Proud Boys, a lot of these Edomites, especially a lot of these Americans, they ultimately believe that, man. And ultimately, them being betrayed of what, what just happened with this bill being passed. Hey, best believe you're going to have a lot of people bear arms and ultimately what? Come against the government, man. And we're in the beginning stages of that, man. Hey, like I said, hey, very well could be weeks, or months of this happening, man. It says, verse 17, it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able," right? Talking about martial law, man. Because it's going to get so bad in the soils of America, man, because the Lord is fast tracking these prophecies, man. Everything YAHAWASHI will say was going to happen is happening, man. The Lord is fast tracking everything, man. You're going to have a lot of these people come up against the government to the point where they have to enact martial law, so we see the ripple effect happening, man, with Israel ultimately having their hands in America, man. These small hats ultimately having their hand, within these politicians, man. Hey, a lot of things are about to go down, man. Hey, related to prophecy, man, because a lot of things are being fast-tracked right now, man. And what's next to come, man? With the escalation of World War III, you're going to have what? The collapse of this society, man, and the pushing of that digital system, backed by that RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast, It says, "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid," right? Because of things that's, that's going to happen within, around the world, especially here in America. You're going to have people being, put to death left and right, man. It says the city shall be troubled, because you got to understand, man, hey, you can't forget about, the Strait of Hormuz being closed, the conflict with Iran. Also, that ultimately, what? A lot of, oil is not being shipped to America like it once was, man. Even me, driving to these different gas stations, man, the only gas they have available within a certain amount of these gas stations right now is, 87 regular, man. Hey, a lot of these gas stations is not being, shipped gas, man, which is going to cause, even more, hardship, on the American economy, man. It says, verse 19, it says, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation," right? Because of what it talks about in 2 Esdras also, I believe it's 6. 2 Esdras 6, I could be wrong. It talks about their storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, because of what? It's going to be a lack of resources, a lack of food, a lack of, anything here in this economy, man. And it's going to ultimately cause what? These people should just, crash out, So everything we're seeing, hey, the Lord is ultimately, speeding everything up, man. Even to the days, a lot of these days feel like ultimately what? Half a days, man. These don't really feel like full days anymore, man. even that much more so as we head to the end of this man's kingdom, man. Let's actually grab this. This is the book of Habakkuk 2:1. And it reads, and I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Because we're ultimately watching into our people, man. You know, we're giving our people the warning, whether they hear or whether they forbear. As the what's that? Romans 3 talks about it, and also 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, man. You know, and we're just here to give our people the message, whether they hear or whether they forbear, man. You know, and if you're an Israelite, it's best that you take heed to this message, man, because the Lord is going to let the floodgates of judgment open, man. You know, and the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. Right, make it plain upon tables, that he that may run that readeth it. So we're making these prophecies plain that you may understand it, man. We're breaking these prophecies down in a way that you may understand it, man. And we know that ultimately the elect will understand these said things that's happening in the earth, and that's about to happen, man. You know, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Meaning what? That these prophecies are no longer going to be prolonged, man. And the Lord is fast tracking everything, man. And the Lord is putting the spirit on this devil, you know, to fast track everything, man. You know, with the merger between the Israel and the American militaries, that's ultimately going to speed up World War III. That's going to speed up, you know, the division between America and its allies, man, because you already have a lot of American allies, you know, that's not agreeing with what America is doing, man. And who is the spokesperson of America, who is a puppet? DJT, man, Donald Trump. You know, you have the elites, you know, basically, you know, using this guy as a puppet to make these said moves, man. But it's all through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI that's truly making these moves, man, to ultimately what? To make these prophecies move along, man. You know, as Isaiah 55, what's that, verse 11 or verse 12, it talks about, you know, the words of the Lord is not going to come back unto him void, man. So there's ultimately these said things, you know, will be fulfilled, man. You know, it's something else I want to get to this Matthew 24, and because we're closer than we ever were, man. You know, Matthew 24 and verse 32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door. So that's why it's important for us to continue to watch and pray, man. And because we're closer than we ever were before, man. Because the scripture says, you know, better is it than the end of a thing than the beginning of it thereof, man. Hey, so we're at the end of all things, man, that this society produces, man. The Lord is coming back to destroy this society, man. How do we know that, man? Hey, the prophecies that's coming to pass, man. Everything YAHAWASHI said was going to happen, is going to happen, and it's happening right before our eyes at a rapid rate, to the point that even these scoffers can't, you know, dispute what's happening, man. You know, so that's how we know we're closer than ever before. You know, hey, the puzzle pieces are aligning, man. You know, it says, verse 33, it says, so likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all things be fulfilled. Right, so what it's talking about when all things be fulfilled? Talking about everything that's written within his word, man. You know, talking about prophecies relating to what? The downfall of this kingdom, man, and things of that nature, man. Hey, this generation, because this is the last generation when all these things will be come to pass, man. Hey, World War III, you know, the coming to pass of the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. You know, World War III. All these said things are being fast tracked, man. It says, verse 35. It says, heaven and earth shall not pass. Shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. So everything YAHAWASHI said was going to happen is going to happen, man. You know, and it's fastly approaching, man. So call on YAHAWASHI, man. And everything that's happening is gearing towards the downfall of America, man. You know, let's actually grab this. Jeremiah 51:6, and it reads, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense, right? It's the time that the Lord is about to judge this place, man. You know, as we, you know, talked about, man, it was the kingdom ultimately what? You know, lifespan is approximately 250 years, man. You know, before the Lord ultimately comes back and to destroy that said kingdom, man. And ultimately, we're at the end of America right now, man. All the prophecies prove that, man. And ultimately, us Israelites, we're supposed to be, fleeing out of this place spiritually, man. Don't put your eggs in Babylon the Great, because this place is like the Titanic, man. This place is fastly sinking, man. You know? It says, verse 7, it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Ultimately, those said philosophies, that America has pushed upon these other countries, man. Hey, ultimately, and it's coming to the point where a lot of these nations are, basically what? Allying with Russia and ultimately to come up against America, man. Because they're seeing right through America. These other nations are seeing right through America in this bullshit, man. So ultimately, it's really going to be Israel and America versus the entire world, man. This is where we're ultimately, approaching to right now, man. And this is, something that's happening right now as we speak, man. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain, if so that she may be healed? We will have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. And right, that this place cannot be healed because this place was always destined and always, was rooted for destruction, man. The Lord created this place to destroy this place, man. This place was always built for what? Our punishment, and the Lord to eventually destroy this place, man. And we know that America, Babylon the Great, is the stronghold for the Edomites, man. And the Lord is coming back to ultimately to set down this mountain, man, which is what? A government, man. And America being the top government on the planet Earth, the Lord is coming back to destroy it, man. And this is where we're at right now. Let's actually grab this and I'm gonna close out. Get ready for camp. This is the book of Romans 13, the verse let's see. In verse 11. And that knowing the time that is now high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than we believe. Right. So all the prophecies that we're seeing coming to pass, man, we know that we're, closer than ever before, as I read in that Matthew 24, even at the doors, man. Hey, so everything that's happening right now is gearing up towards the destruction of Babylon the Great, which is America, man. And it's a beautiful sight, man. And as we, move closer to the end, it's always been evident for the elect, but it's even being made manifest even more so, man. We read these different prophecies, how we see these said things being manifested in the earth, man. And it's a beautiful thing, And YAHAWASHI, Yahweh's going to send his son YAHAWASHI back to deliver us, man. We're in those times, man, and it's beautiful. So with that being said, I hope this lesson was edifying. I want to end up by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great mills on the titles of truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord willing, I hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, Kwam Yasharala, Shalom, and the Baba Ball. Until next time, Lord willing.